Hey everyone, welcome to part 14 of this trophy and achievement guide for Metaphor ReFantazio. We got another very good episode for you today where we're going to take on one of the last and largest story-based dungeons called the Skybound Avatar, so let's dive right into it. We begin in the afternoon of October 15th and it's Idols Day, so what we want to do is to fast travel over to the Gauntlet Runner so that we can stop by the toilet and get a permanent +1 to our luck stat. After that, we'll go across the hall and we're going to get our cooking ingredients from inside the pantry. Now we'll turn left and go into the strategy room so that we can interact with the round table and use the route map option to go to the place called the Skybound Avatar, which is located very close to Grand Trad, just off to the right. So let's go ahead and choose to travel to this location. It's so short that we don't even get a chance to do anything on the way there. We're just brought immediately to that location and some cutscenes will ensue before we get control of our character. What we want to do is to make a couple alterations to our party setup before we go in. So let's go over to the Archetype tree, and starting with the protagonist, we want to make sure that we're equipped with the Soul Hacker, and we have Masked Revelry, Blizza, Magic Circle, and Magic Font as our inherited skills. Now going over to Stroll, we want him to be equipped with the Royal Warrior archetype, and we're going to inherit Thunderblade, Frigid Fortress Tactic, Front Boost, and Regenerate 3. Now let's go over to Hulkenberg. She is the Royal Knight, and we inherited Boatona, Blizzaton, Revitalize 3, and Metaline. Now on to Heismay. We have him equipped with the Dragoon, and I inherited 4 skills with him: Luckier Find, Third Eye, Shadow Dwellers, and Agility Lore. We won't be using Heismay in battle, but we want those skills unlocked for later. Now over to Juna. She is the Royal Masked Dancer archetype, and we inherited Masked Revelry, Vidyartha, Infernal Vortex, and Crimson Flame. Now over to Yufa. She is currently equipped with the Soul Hacker archetype because we haven't quite mastered that yet in order to gain access to her royal archetype, the Royal Summoner. And then we'll go over to Basilio, and he's going to be the Destroyer, and once we max that one, then we can make him the Royal Berserker. I don't have to inherit any skills onto Yufa or Basilio because we're not using them in combat. Now over to the party, we'll make sure that we have the protagonist, Stroll, Hulkenberg, and Juna in the party, and they are all going to be in the front row. And now that our party is all set up, let's head on straight ahead in through the doors, and we will go into the dungeon itself. I did not make any alterations to the character's equipment or their accessory setup. Those are being carried over from the last time we set them up in a previous video. The first section of the dungeon is pretty straightforward. There's a left section and a right section. We're going to do the left section first, getting all of the items, and then go over to the right side to collect everything and go to the quest marker. So starting off, we're going to run forward and then through the left door. There's a big fish-like enemy over here. We're going to get into a fight with him, and this guy is going to be weak to fire-based attacks, so we can use that to our advantage. With our protagonist, we can use Seeker's Flame to do heavy fire damage to him. And then Juna can use one of her abilities like Infernal Vortex. Over to Stroll, we can have him use his normal attack. And now with Hulkenberg, we can have her use Boatona. It's back over to the protagonist. I'm going to have him just use a physical attack. And then we're going to have Juna use one more Infernal Vortex. This is a pretty good way to conserve MP, which is very important because this is a long dungeon and we want to make sure that we don't run out of MP because MP recovery items are hard to come by. The accessories that we have equipped allow us to regain a little bit of MP every turn, so I'll show you a cool trick that we can use to get MP back soon. Now we're going to grab the item off the ground and then go around this hedgerow, and we're going to attack these tooth monsters. These guys go down pretty easily. All we have to do is have our protagonist use the synthesis ability Trial of the Seeker. That's going to be the main source of damage throughout this dungeon. We can take care of large groups of enemies just by using this one attack, and we get more MP back with a large group than what it actually costs us to use that attack. So that's another good MP efficient way of clearing out enemies and making sure that we're not running out of MP throughout this long dungeon. After that, we're going to continue over toward the west and go up the small set of stairs, then turn toward the left and grab the item off of this urn. Now we're going to proceed over toward the north, and if we stick toward the left side, we're able to go into a doorway that has a larger human enemy. We can go ahead and fight him. After our opening volley of ambush damage, we can just use another Trial of the Seeker to eliminate him without any problems. Sometimes these enemies show up with other enemies alongside of them, but the Trial of the Seeker will take those guys out as well. Now let's get all of our rewards and we can move on. In the same area is a Dark Elementa, so let's take him out and get some massive rewards. After our initial ambush, we're going to have our protagonist use Emerald Vortex to hit him for extreme wind damage. That should either kill him or get him pretty close to being dead, and then we can just have Juna take him out with a normal physical attack. Here we get our massive rewards, especially with an Unscathed Triumph. We're going to get a lot of these Hero's Leaves of Light, and we're going to use them to great effect a little bit later on. Now let's go over against the far wall and we can open up a treasure chest. After that, we can turn around and we can go ahead and leave this area. There's going to be one more tooth monster that we can take out. And at this point, I did get a new level up with a protagonist, and that means that I hit level 64. At this point, I'm going to put one more point into the magic stat. You can start to give more points towards strength if you want to. That might actually help out a little bit later on. So either magic or strength are going to be good for you there. And then after grabbing the item, we're going to run around the corner into this other smaller room. We can take out this gargoyle-like enemy. He and any of his friends that accompany him will all go down to another one of those Trial of the Seeker synthesis abilities. If you look at our character's MP bars, you'll see that they're staying pretty full despite using strong synthesis abilities over and over again. And that's because we get to regain a lot of MP not only on our turn, but hitting a group of 3 or more enemies will give us back more MP than what it costs to actually use the ability. Let's grab the item on the ground, and then we'll exit the room and turn toward the left so that we can grab one more item. And at this point, we've cleared out the entire left side of this map, so let's go back to the middle area by the stairs. We'll go down through this gate, across the grass, and then over the walkway to the other side. There's some tooth enemies here. We'll take those guys out, and I'm going to skip the battles that are repetitive just because we don't need to watch the same fight over and over again. At this fight, I did get an Artisan's Headgear. That's a drop from that enemy, and it's very good. It gives us 9 more evasion, so we will be using that later on. If you don't get it as a drop, it's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world, but definitely if you can get it, then you should get it. Now we're going to grab the item on the far south side of this walkway and then turn and start heading north, clearing out the enemies as we go. Before we go through that main door toward the quest marker, we'll go a little bit toward the west, taking out this gargoyle, and then going inside this room. We'll be sure not to be ambushed by this human. We'll take him out and then grab the item in the corner of this room. Now we're going to go back around and we're going to go through the easternmost hallway as we proceed north. There's going to be another fishy enemy over here. We can take him out as well as the other tooth enemies in this room. There's going to be one treasure chest against the far north wall, so let's go ahead and grab that. And there's going to be one more blue item against the wall right by the door where we have to go through. So let's open up the door and keep proceeding over toward the west. There's another human enemy that we can take out, and then we want to go through the doors all the way on the west side of the room. And this will take us into some more cutscenes, which I'm going to skip because there's some spoilery stuff. And then immediately after those, turn around and head toward the south end of the room so that you can pick up the Dragon Blood Sap item. Now we're going to go north through the doorway that leads to the quest marker. There's going to be some more story stuff that happens with some cutscenes, and then after that we're going to be ambushed by an enemy that should look pretty familiar from the Dragon Temple. This is Homo Floemo, and if you were annoyed by him in the Dragon Temple, well, guess what? They're a lot worse here. We'll begin by having our protagonist use Emerald Vortex to hit him for big damage. These guys are weak to electric attacks, and Juna doesn't have any of that. She basically just has fire attacks, but she can also use support abilities like Vidyartha, which is going to lower the attack and defense of the enemy by 2 stages. Now Stroll does have an electric attack with Thunderblade, so let's use that. Hulkenberg also has an electric attack, Thunderstrike Thrust, which when we hit the enemy with this, it will lower his defense 1 more stage to the maximum of -3. Now back to the protagonist, we're going to use another Emerald Vortex. And for our last action this turn, we're going to have Juna use her support ability, Hellfire Dance, to give the enemy a one-time weakness to fire-based attacks. Now it's the enemy's turn. He's going to use something like Breath of Battle to increase his stats, and then he might attack one or all of your party members. Thankfully, Juna dropped his attack a couple stages, so it doesn't do too much damage overall. Back to our turn, Stroll is going to use Thunderblade again to hit his weakness. With Hulkenberg, we could either hit his weakness with Thunderstrike Thrust or use Boatona. Either one is just fine. I'm going to go the Boatona route. And then with our protagonist, we're going to use another Emerald Vortex. With Juna, if he still has the weakness to fire, you could use one of her fire abilities, or you can just skip the turn over to Stroll, who can then use Thunderblade again. The enemy just has a little bit of health left, so what I want to do is to use Metal Line to get everyone's health back up to full. Now at this point, the boss's health is very low. I'm just going to use Emerald Vortex to be safe. It costs a little bit more MP, but that's fine. I can regain that later on. I didn't want to risk it, having a physical attack either miss or not do enough damage, or another weaker magic attack not working either, because that would have given the enemy another chance to attack. I just wanted to finish the fight. And then after that, we're going to have some more cutscenes, and then we can go forward and talk to Morscat Plateau, and we're going to save the game. Now let's look at the map again, and we'll see that this area is much larger and more complex, but we're once again going to start on the left side. We want to clear out the bottom left corner of the map, and then we want to start working our way northward on the left side. So let's go around the corner and down the stairs. We're going to go across this gate, and then on the right side is going to be this lizard man. We're going to fight him, but once again, these guys go down to just one of those Trial of the Seekers. One thing that you can do to get some MP back is just to go through all of your turns, just keep passing over and over again. You actually want to pass all the turns this one round, and that will give you a lot of your MP back. As you can see, Juna, the protagonist, and Hulkenberg are all gaining MP back every turn. The enemy's stunned, so they can't do anything, and we're going to go through one more round of having everyone go through their turn, just pass to the next person, and when you have 2 turn icons left, then use Trial of the Seeker to eliminate the enemies. This is a very safe way to get a lot of MP back in the middle of the fight. It does take a little while to go through, but it's a lot better than having you either run out of MP or having to rely on MP recovery items. Once that enemy is destroyed, you'll see that one of the bosses is patrolling the far north end of this area, so we're going to avoid that route, and instead we'll head over toward the southwest to take out a tooth monster and grab the item. Now going up diagonally toward the northwest, we're going to grab another item, and then we're going to keep on going west so that we can take out a couple bird enemies along the way.
There they are.
Once they're gone, we're going to go west and then up the stairs. There's going to be a treasure chest up here. Let's open that up. At this point, the whole bottom left corner of this map has been cleared out, so we want to just start heading straight east toward the entrance again. You can roll through the mud to go a lot faster than you could if you tried to walk through it. And then once we get through here, we're going to turn north and go up along the path. There's going to be another lizard man patrolling around here. Let's take him out, and then we're going to grab the item inside all of these urns. We'll go over toward the northeast, and we'll cross underneath this bridge, and we can get another treasure chest over here. Now let's head back toward the west to join the main path, and we're going to proceed over toward the west. If we go a little bit toward the south, then we can grab another item. Just be careful to watch this enemy's patrol route. You don't want to get caught by him. Let's go ahead and clear out the enemies and then grab the item in the corner here. We'll be careful not to get caught by this enemy. Just run in circles to let him go past, and then we're going to go over toward the southwest. We'll go through the gate and then turn right. There's some more birds that come down to ambush us and a lizard man that we can take out. After that, we're going to go a little bit further toward the west, and there's going to be another lizard man we'll eliminate, and then we want to go north up the stairs and then turn left to go around the corner. There's another human enemy over here. We can take him out, no problem, and then we want to turn and start heading all the way toward the south end of this hallway. At the end are going to be some tooth monsters you can take out, and there's also going to be an item against this pillar. After that, we're going to run all the way north to the end of this hallway, and then turn right to start heading east. We'll then turn left to go north, and there's going to be another item against this pillar. Then turn right and take out the tooth enemies along the path. From here, turn left and then start going up the path again, and we're immediately going to turn left and go down into this lower area. But pay attention to the patrol routes of these large enemies. You want to get behind one of them, and if they're close by, then get behind the second one, and you just want to follow them all the way around this path until you can get to where the item is. It does take quite a while. You can make it go a little bit faster just by rolling through here, because the enemy's speed is directly related to how fast you are moving. So start rolling around here. Just make sure you don't get too close, otherwise you'll get caught and have to fight them, and you don't want to do that. When you get to the opening, just go through here and take out the large fish enemy. Try not to run around too much though, because that will just mean that the enemy is going to also be moving. If you're quick enough and don't move around too much, you can exit out the west side before the enemy can come around. Otherwise, you might have to follow them all the way back around. As we head toward the south, we're going to take out a few more of those tooth enemies, and then we can grab the treasure chest at the bottom of this area. However, this is a trapped treasure chest, so you have to fight one of those blood coin imitacs when you open up the chest. Now, these guys do go down pretty easily at this point in the game. We're going to use Emerald Vortex to hit them for a lot of damage. And then over to Juna, we're going to have her use Ice Blue Dance to give him a one-time weakness to ice. After that, Stroll can use a Frigid Fortress tactic to hit that weakness and reapply it. Now over to Hulkenberg, she's going to use Blizzaton to hit the weakness. The enemy is getting low on health. We're going to use one more Emerald Vortex to bring him down to very low health. And we can finish up by having Juna use Infernal Vortex. And with that, the enemy is defeated, and we didn't even have to hit his natural weakness to light-based damage. In fact, in the end of the game, a lot of your success will be related to your ability to inflict and exploit weaknesses on your enemy. Inside the chest is the Ghostlight Katana, a new weapon for the Thief archetype lineage. Now let's turn around and start heading all the way toward the north. We'll defeat this monster along the path, and then we'll turn toward the right to grab the item on the bench. Now let's keep heading toward the north until we get to the end of the walkway, and then we're going to turn over toward the right. Keep going toward the east until there's some stairs on your right. We're going to go down the stairs and then immediately turn toward the right, because there's going to be some birds that we can take out, as well as the Dark Elementa. So let's take that out and then get our rewards. We'll keep going around the corner, taking out the enemies as we go. Be careful with these fish enemies because they're very aggressive and they like to play cat and mouse with you, but take them down. And then at this point, I hit level 65 with the protagonist. I'm going to put another point into magic, but you could very well put one into strength as well. Boosting strength is not a bad idea in the end game with some skills that we're going to get coming up. Now we're going to keep on going toward the south end of this area. We want to go into the mud, but pay attention to the enemies patrolling around here. You do not want to get caught by them, so run in circles, or more appropriately, roll in circles, just to get them to move out of your way. And then we're going to go over toward the northeast corner here. There's another bird that we can take out, and another fish enemy. Just be careful not to be ambushed. And then head toward the south, because there's a small crawl space going through the bushes that will take you into a little area that has an item. So go ahead, grab that, and then we're going to go over toward the west, and that's going to take us into the area with the quest marker. We've gotten all of the items and the treasure chests on the left side. Now it's time to go to the quest marker area so that we can actually defeat the monster and get rid of a lot of these guys that are roaming around. Up on the platform where the quest marker enemy is the real version of the enemies hopping around. Once we get rid of him, then we're going to get rid of all of those mirages too. Before we fight the boss, we want to make one quick change in the archetype tree. We're going to go to Juna and switch out her inherited skill Crimson Flame for Dance of Verdure. This is going to allow us to inflict a one-time weakness to wind, and that's going to be very beneficial when we want to use things like Emerald Vortex. So once that's all set, let's go ahead and run up the stairs to engage with the enemy. Starting off, we're going to have our protagonist use Emerald Vortex. It's Juna's turn now, and we're going to have her use that new ability, Dance of Verdure, so that we can inflict that one-time weakness to wind. So the next time the protagonist's turn comes around, we can hit the weakness to do bonus damage and only use half of a turn icon. Now Stroll is going to use Thunderblade, which is its weakness. And we're also going to use that Thunderstrike Thrust with Hulkenberg. Back over to the protagonist, we're going to use Emerald Vortex to hit his weakness. And now over to Juna, we're going to have her use Vidyartha to lower the enemy's attack and defense by 2 stages. It's the enemy's turn to attack, so he's going to do a few attacks that don't do a whole lot of damage to us because we just lowered his attack quite a bit. Now over to Stroll, we're going to have him use Thunderblade again. Hulkenberg is going to use her Thunderstrike Thrust. Back over to the protagonist, we get to use Emerald Vortex again. This time it does not hit a weakness. And then over to Juna, we can have her use Infernal Vortex. It's only got a sliver of health left, so with Stroll, we're going to use a normal physical attack, and because we leveled up his bond a lot, we are able to hit criticals against human enemies pretty easily. So we do get that critical hit, it finishes them off, we're going to get all of our rewards, including a Hero's Jeweled Root, that's very important for us, and then after some cutscenes, we're able to choose, do we want to go back to the door area? Because we already cleared everything out, we will choose to go to the door, and we'll see that some of those mirages are gone, but not all of them. Now we have to go over toward the right side and clear out all the other enemies. Feel free to save the game at this point by talking to Morris Cat Plateau, and now we're going to go over toward the right side. Like I said, there's going to be the lower right area that we want to clear out first, and then we'll start making our way north, defeating all the enemies, collecting everything there is, before finally going over to where that quest marker is. So let's go ahead and get started running directly toward the east. We're going to go down these stairs, and then up the stairs to our right. We want to go down through this gate, and pay attention because there's another patrolling enemy through here. Just want to make sure that he's out of your way before you head toward the south, taking out the tooth monster and grabbing the item. Now we can start heading back toward the north, paying once again attention to that enemy's patrol route. Just run around in circles, getting him to move, and then we'll go over toward the side, taking out this dog. These guys are strong against fire, so don't hit them with any fire-based attacks, and they're weak to ice, but what we want to do is to do that trick where we just pass our turn over and over again so that we can get a lot of our MP back. So once you make it through everyone's first turn here, then it's the enemy's turn, but they're all going to be stunned and can't do anything. Now it's back to us, and we'll have everyone pass their turn one time just to get a little bit more MP or HP back. And then what we want to do is on Hulkenberg's turn, we're going to have her use Metaline just to make sure everyone's health gets all the way filled up. And now that we have 2 remaining turn icons, we're going to use Trial of the Seeker to eliminate all 4 of these enemies at once. I really don't think that it can be stated enough how important MP management and your ability to recover it in battle is as we try to make it through this long dungeon with lots of fights. So after that, we're going to go into our item menu, and we'll see that we're getting pretty full on these Hero's Leaves of Light. I've got 75 of them right now. You don't want to hit 99 of them, so be cautious of that. We will be using a lot of them very soon after we get through this area. We'll go around the corner here and take out the Dark Elementa, and then we want to go over toward the north end of this area for an item. So go through the mud, through this northern pathway, and we're going to grab the item, and then we're going to go out the far eastern side. Let's turn right to head toward the south end, and there's going to be an item in the corner. This contains a talisman of the raptor, something very important for creating more summoning vessels later on. We'll go back into the muddy area, just get off to the side while the enemy is patrolling through here, and we can actually go through the gate to the north to take out another fish enemy and his dog friends in the same area.
There they are.
After they're gone, we're going to turn toward the west and head out the northwestern gate. There's going to be a few more of those dogs and another fish monster, so eliminate all of them. And before you go up the stairs toward the north, we can actually go out the passageway in the southwest corner here, and that will take us to another muddy spot where we can go and fight a fish enemy and also grab the item in the far northeastern corner. Now let's turn toward the south and run all the way down. You want to pay attention though, because there's going to be a patrolling enemy in front of you, and there is an item and another fish enemy along the way. So let's get out of the way so that the patrolling enemy does not hit us, and then once he's passed, we're going to go around the corner, fight the fish enemy, and grab the item. At this time, Hulkenberg's Royal Knight archetype grew to rank 15, and that got me Omni Counter, a passive ability that has a 15% chance of repelling a non-almighty attack, and that can come in pretty clutch later on. Alright, so we grab the item here, and now we're going to make our way back toward the north. Just make sure you don't run into one of the patrolling enemies. Keep going north until you can cross over into the pathway that takes you up toward the north. And when you get here, then turn toward the right. There's going to be an item over on the right corner, and then turn right again so that we can start heading toward the south. There's going to be a couple enemies that we can take out quickly as we make our way down toward the southeast corner. And now keep going all the way to the southeast corner. There's going to be some more of those little tooth enemies and one more item in the corner of this area. So grab that, and then we're going to turn and start heading back toward the north. If you look at the map, we've cleaned out everything on the right side from about the midpoint down. And now we just have to go to the north to defeat some enemies, get the other items, and then finally defeat the boss at the quest marker. So we're going to start heading over toward the northwest and then keep going up toward the north once we turn around the corner. We're going to go up to this section. You can either go right at this intersection and go get the item, or you can keep going along the path toward the north, taking out the enemies along the path. And when you get to the far north side, then you want to turn toward the right and start heading toward the east. We need to go all the way to the end of this hallway before we turn toward the right and then head south. Keep going all the way down this path, defeating the monsters along the way, and then you're going to go into a room at the far south end of this area. There's some more tooth enemies as we go through here, but be careful because this box also contains a monster. It's the same kind of blood coin Imatech that we fought before, so I'm going to skip the fight, just go ahead and beat him with their strongest abilities, and then get the item in the chest. Now we'll turn around and head back outside. There may be one more tooth enemy out here on your left that you can defeat, and then go a little bit toward the north before turning left and going down the stairs. We're going to grab the item in this area and then keep heading up toward the north because there's going to be a crawl space that takes us through the bushes into the middle area. We'll take out the tooth enemy and then turn left, being careful not to get the patrolling enemy to see us. And then there are 3 more items in this area scattered around in a triangle in the bottom and then the top left and right corners. Now one thing that you can do is you can either try to avoid these guys as you go around and get them, but what you could also do is actually get into a fight with one of them. So I'll show you kind of a cool strategy that you can do here. If you go up and just get into a fight with one of these ones, if you don't happen to make it through, then what's going to happen is that the enemy is going to attack you and will probably do a fair amount of damage to you. What we're going to do first is to pass our turn until we get over to Hulkenberg. And then we're going to use Metaline to get everyone's health back up. This is only going to cost us 10 MP, but it makes sure that everyone is healthy again. And then after that, because we have a high rank with Barden, we're able to escape this battle perfectly. There's no chance that we fail that. And as soon as we run away, that enemy is marked as defeated and it is gone from the map, so we no longer have to deal with it. So really there was no risk or harm in doing that. And what's really nice is that that enemy is off the map permanently. So now we're going to go get the item over in the center of the large square here. As we move along, we can defeat a lizard man. And at this point, I hit level 66 with the protagonist. We don't want to give another point into agility because we want Juna to be faster than us. So instead, we're going to put a point into either magic or into strength. Do not put another point into agility because we need Juna to move first in battle to work with our strategies. So after that, we're going to continue along the circle. We just have to follow these enemies, or if you want to engage them in battle and then heal and run away like what we did before, it doesn't really matter. And you're going to get to the opening here. We're going to go inside, defeat the dog that's guarding the item, and then we can actually get that item off the ground. Now we just have to make our way back toward the north, so keep going around here and then go over toward the northwest corner to exit out into the grass. And then we just have to run around and grab the 2 more items, one in the northwest corner and one in the northeast corner. The northwest one has one of these lizard monsters guarding it, so we'll defeat him and then we'll head all the way toward the east. And then there's going to be a dog over here that's guarding this one. So after those enemies have been defeated and the items have been collected, now we just have to go ahead and defeat the boss of this area. So we'll head over toward the west side and then head south through the mud. We don't have to worry about the enemy over here anymore because he's gone permanently. And then we can get ready to go up and face the boss. We've collected all the items and the treasure chests around this area, so we're good to go ahead and fight this boss. It's the same as the last one. We just have to defeat him and then we can teleport back to the entrance to this area. So starting off the fight, we're going to have Juna use her Dance of Verdure because she's faster and can go first. That gives us a weakness to exploit on the second turn when our protagonist gets to act. So let's use Emerald Vortex to hit that weakness and only use half of a turn icon. Now with Stroll, we can hit his weakness using Thunderblade. And then Hulkenberg can follow that up with a Thunderstrike Thrust. Back over to Juna, we're going to have her use Vidyartha. This is going to lower his attack and defense by 2 stages. And then we can have our protagonist use another Emerald Vortex. It doesn't hit the weakness, but it still does lots of damage. And finally, Stroll is going to use another Thunderblade. The enemy's attack and defense has been dropped a lot, so when it attacks, it's not going to do a whole lot of damage to us. Now it's Hulkenberg's turn, and then she's going to use her Thunderstrike Thrust to hit its weakness. Now Juna is going to use her Infernal Vortex. Back to the protagonist, we're going to use another Emerald Vortex. The enemy's almost dead now. I'm going to pass Stroll's turn over to Hulkenberg, who's then going to use Metaline to get everyone's health back to full. This gives me 1 more turn icon to finish the fight. So with Juna, we're going to go ahead and use Infernal Vortex, and that should cause us to win as long as we don't miss. And there you go, another boss fight down. That one was very easy. We ended up with full health, but it doesn't quite count as an unscathed triumph because we still took damage in the middle of that fight. In the following cutscene, we're going to choose to return back to the entrance of this area, and then we can just run straight forward and go through the doors in front of us. We will have to fight another mini boss when we go through here, but luckily it's very easy and we don't have to worry about it. So here we have a fight against the grotesque Hymensan. This guy is weak to ice as well as wind, but he absorbs fire attacks, so don't use any fire stuff with him. We're going to start off with Juna using Vidyartha to lower his attack and defense, and then over to our protagonist, we can naturally hit his weakness with an Emerald Vortex. Now over to Stroll, we can have him use Frigid Fortress tactic to hit his weakness to ice. And Hulkenberg can also hit his weakness by using Blizzaton. With Juna, we don't want to use a fire attack, and that's basically all that she has, so instead we'll use Vidyartha again just to knock his defense down all the way. And then with our protagonist, we're going to use another Emerald Vortex to hit his weakness. And then Stroll can finish the fight. Just a normal physical attack at this point will do. And there's another mini boss down. We'll get all of our rewards, which are boosted thanks to the fact that it was an unscathed triumph, and we also got a talisman of the Avatar. We also got some more levels up and ranks up, and at this point Stroll's Royal Warrior got up to rank 16 and learned Hasao Tobi, which deals weak physical slash damage to all enemies 8 times. After some cutscenes that I skipped for spoiler reasons, we're going to go up the staircase and then go north as we go through the doors, and then we can continue up the hallway, up all the stairs until we get to the quest marker at the top. Now let's go through the door at the top, and that will take us into the second main area of the dungeon. Just on our right, as we go through here, there's going to be a Magla Hollow, so let's run inside there and then save the game real quick. And now afterward, we need to do something with all of those Heroes Leaves of Light that we've been collecting. We've got almost 100 of them, and we don't want to get to 99 because then we lose them as we earn more. You can only have 99 at most. So let's go ahead and start using some on Heismay. We're going to get his Dragoon up to rank 20 so that he masters it. That's also going to give him a nice bonus to his agility of 4 points. And then we're going to use some more on Yufa. We want to get her Soul Hacker up to rank 20 as well, so that she can master that one, and that gives her a bonus to her max HP. And now we want to go over to Basilio, and we're going to help him raise his Destroyer up to rank 20 so that he can master that one, and that will give him a short range boost as well as a bonus to his strength by 4 points. At this point, we have everything we need for all of our characters to have their royal archetypes. So starting with Heismay, we're going to now have him equip the Royal Thief archetype. This is going to cost us 30,000 mag to study, but it's definitely worth it because there's some amazing things that the Royal Thief can do. So let's go ahead and channel that one, and then we're going to move on to Yufa, and we're going to have her study this one, the Royal Summoner. That's once again going to cost 30,000 mag, but let's go ahead and do that because we've got enough mag to spare. Afterward, we're going to channel it, and then we're going to move over to Basilio, and we want him to study how to become the Royal Berserker. Again, it's 30,000 mag. Let's go ahead and spend it and have him channel the Royal Berserker archetype. So at this point, all we have to do is focus on getting the protagonist to master all of the other archetypes in the entire archetype tree. So we've got a long way to go, but we can use these items that we've been collecting to help us out. So we'll start using some Heroes Leaves of Light, and we're going to focus on only giving them to the protagonist. We can master the Wizard archetype, getting it up to rank 20, and then we're going to keep going down the list and getting all of the archetypes that we can as high as we can go. So next we're going to go to the Warrior. We're going to get that one up to rank 20, then we'll move on to the Knight and get that up to rank 20. We'll keep going down the list and see that the Pugilist can get ranked up. And once we've mastered that, then we're going to move on and start giving points into the Prince. We can also use the Hero's Fruit that we've been collecting. You just don't want to use the Hero's Jeweled Roots at this time, so use only the Leaves of Light and the Fruits, and try to get your Prince up to as high as you can go. We've also got a lot of these items, like the Strength Incense that increases our strength by 1, as well as health and energy, lots of other things, so we're going to give all of those strictly to the protagonist. There's only one that we don't want to use though, and that's going to be the Speed Incense. So give all of them except the Speed Incense to the protagonist, and again we're trying to keep our speed or our agility a little bit lower than what Juna's is. So once you've given all of those things to your protagonist, except for the Speed Incense, we'll be good to go. So feel free to save the game again if you want to, otherwise just go north and exit into the new area. Once again, lots of cutscenes that I'm going to skip. We want to turn left and go out the west doors, and that will take us into a new area. In this new area, we're going to start by running forward all the way to the end of the hallway, and then we want to turn right so that we can head north into a small room that's going to get us an item in the corner.
Hey, we found something!
Now let's go back into the hallway. We'll turn left, and then we want to turn left again so that we can start heading north, and eventually Hulkenberg will interrupt us. We'll have a short scene with her, and then we can keep going over toward the north. And I want to show you a tricky thing about this place. If we were to go toward the right and go through these doors here, what's going to happen is that although it looks like we should be able to go into the next area and get the item, we're actually going to teleport over to the other side of the same room that we just tried to exit. And it basically puts us into a giant loop, and we can't go out that way. Because of these magic doors, we're going to avoid going into some rooms and only focus on the path that we have to go. So we're going to go north first, grabbing the item on the right, and then keep working our way through the north side up into the northeast corner, where we can grab this item and take out the enemies. We don't want to go into any of those other side rooms, just stick to the main path. We'll go down the walkway and then grab another item before going toward the south. There's a Moldalich in front of us, and if you remember him from when we did the Coliseum challenge, he can be a little bit tough, so I'll show you a good strategy for defeating him. After the ambush damage in the opening volley, we'll have Juna use a Dance of Verdure to hit the enemy with a weakness to wind. And now that he's weak to wind, we'll have our protagonist use the Emerald Vortex to hit that weakness and do lots of damage. Now this boss reflects most magic, so you should be focusing on using physical attacks such as Vorpal Blade or Hasotobi. I would actually recommend not using Hasotobi because even though it looks really impressive and does lots of damage, you see that it does about 1600 damage in total here, it actually wastes a lot of MP. It costs 70 more MP than what Vorpal Blade does, and it only does about 20 more damage, so just stick to Vorpal Blade instead. Also, Hulkenberg used Mad Rush to hit him with a Pierce attack, and then we'll use Vidyartha to lower his attack a little bit. On his turn, he may try to attack your whole party, or try to pick one person off by using Death Scythe, which can instantly kill that person. If that hits, then what you want to do is just reset the battle so that you don't have to deal with a dead character. This enemy is pretty easy to defeat, and you can see here that using Vorpal Blade does just under 1600 damage, which is what Hasotobi did. So save yourself the MP, just use Vorpal Blade. We'll finish the fight with another Mad Rush, and then keep it going. He is also weak to strike attacks, so you can use the Synthesis ability Winning Horse to hit that weakness if you really want to. Now we'll get all of our rewards, and we'll get some new rank ups with our archetypes as well as we work on those royal archetypes. And then we're going to keep heading south down the hallway. There's going to be another large Cyclops monster along the way. Let's take him out. He's accompanied by two of those dogs. All we're going to do is we're going to have Juna use Infernal Vortex on the large Cyclops enemy in the middle. You don't want to use an attack that does fire damage against the dogs. Only focus on the enemy in the middle. And now we're going to use Emerald Vortex to kill the dogs and possibly the large Cyclops in the middle. If he survives, then you can just use a normal physical attack to win the fight. Stroll is the only character on our team who does not recover MP every turn, so it is very helpful to avoid using his MP whenever possible. Now let's keep going south along the path, and then we're going to turn toward the left, go around the corner. There are 4 dogs here that we can take out. And then we're going to keep going south before turning around the corner, going into the nearby room, and going to the treasure chest. This one is also an enemy in a box, so be prepared to fight it. It's another one of those blood coin im attacks. They go down pretty easily to our strong attacks, so let's defeat him and then get the item in the treasure chest. At this point, I also got another level with the protagonist. We're now level 67. Again, don't put any points into agility, just put it into strength or magic. Here we get a new weapon called Lance of the Old God. It's pretty good, but it gets even better when you purify it at the church. Now we're going to leave this room, go around the corner to the right. There's a couple more dogs here, and because we've leveled up, these dogs now go down without having to go into squad-based combat. Now let's go north across the bridge and then turn toward the right. You'll see that there's going to be a door over here, and there's a trick to this door. When you go through a doorway, it sends you through a door that's directly behind where you currently are. So in the case of when we went through the door earlier, it took us through this doorway, but it looped us back through the doorway behind us. Now if we go through that same door but on the opposite side, we're going to once again be looped, but we're going to go to the hallway behind us that we just can't see because it's still grayed out on the map. And that's really all there is to navigating this place. It's just about finding a door that does not have a door you can see directly to the west of where you currently are. So we'll go east through this door, and we're going to be teleported over toward the west of our current location, and that's going to take us into the next hallway over. Let's go ahead and grab the item in the corner, and then we're going to turn and head toward the north. We want to run all the way to the north end of here and then turn right so that we can eliminate the enemy here. There's no item up here, so all we have to do is turn around and start heading back south. We'll turn right at the intersection and head west, and then we'll turn left and start heading south. We get to once again avoid all the doors over here as we head to the south part, and we can take out the enemies here and grab the item. Now let's go back toward the north, and you'll see that once again there's a door over here that goes toward the east, and there's nothing directly parallel with us toward the west. So let's go through this one, and we're going to be teleported over into the western hallway. Now once we're here, we're going to turn left and head north along the path. There's going to be an item over here. We can go ahead and grab that and take out the enemy at the same time. And then we're going to head back down this hallway toward the south as far as we can go. Along the way is another one of those grotesque Chimenzons. It's the same thing that was the mini-boss that we already fought, but this time we can get the ambush damage on him, and now all we have to do is have Juna use her Vidyartha to lower his defense by 2 stages, and that's going to set him up to be destroyed by our protagonist on the next turn. So let's go ahead and use Emerald Vortex. That's going to hit his natural weakness to wind, and that should be strong enough to eliminate him. If it doesn't, just have Stroll come in and use a physical attack, and that battle will be over. Let's grab the item in this area, and then we're going to keep heading south down the hallway. When you get to the end, turn left and then go down the hallway, then turn right to head south. There's going to be another Cyclops enemy here, but don't engage him. Turn to the right, take out the dogs, and then keep going around the corner. In the next room up here is going to be a trance crystal that spawns in some birds and some dogs. You can take them all out. You don't have to go into squad-based combat for these guys anymore, which is very nice. And once you've had your fill of destroying the enemies, then take out that trance crystal. When the crystal is destroyed, go over and open up this treasure chest, but be warned, it's going to be another monster. It's another one of those blood coin Imitacs. We'll take him out using the same strategies as before, and we'll get the Snowfield Mace as a reward. Now let's go back out into the hallway to find where that large Cyclops monster is. Luckily at this point he's turned his back on us, which gives us a good advantage to come in from behind and get that ambush damage to take him out quickly. Let's keep heading south down the hallway as far as we can go, then we'll turn toward the left and keep following the path around. There's a doorway here that when we look at the map, there's nothing directly behind us to the west, so we're going to go through this door all the way on the south end of the hallway, and that's going to loop us over toward the west. In this new area, we'll grab the item in front of us, then continue to follow the path around and going out the only other door available to us. Once again, we get looped around it toward the west, and now in this main hallway, pay attention because there's another one of those molded liches around here. Let's go ahead and take them out the same way that we did before. After that, there's going to be an item in the hallway just toward the north, right by where you came out of the door originally, and then you want to take out the grotesque Chimenzon patrolling in the area. After that, we're going to keep going toward the north along the hallway as far as we can go.
Right there.
Let's take out the gargoyle and keep going north. There's going to be one of those Cyclops monsters on our left. Ignore him for now, run past him, but get his attention so he chases you. We're going to run all the way to the north end of this hallway, and we're going to defeat the monster at the end and grab the item that he's guarding. At this point, the Cyclops should have given up the chase, and now we can run back, and we have a good advantage to hit him from behind. And that will give us a nice critical hit to begin the fight with, and we're also able to then take him out pretty easily with that ambush damage. After that, we'll take out the birds, and then we can go up the stairs. We have Morris Cat over here. We want to save it just because we do have another fight in front of us. It's not very difficult, though, but better to save it in case something goes wrong here. and then we're going to go in the door and be put into the mini-boss fight. This is the Leo Grofon, and if we look at his weaknesses, he's only weak to piercing attacks, and he actually repels wind attacks. Now, normally that'd be very bad for us, but because we have Juna, and Juna has Dance of Verdure, we're able to remove that repel and instead replace it with a weakness to wind. Now with our protagonist, we're going to use Emerald Vortex to hit that weakness and do lots of damage. Now over to Stroll, we're going to have him just use Vorpal Blade. Hulkenberg knows a pierce attack called Mad Rush, so let's use that to hit his weakness to piercing damage. Back over to Juna, we're going to have her use Dance of Verdure. You could also use Vidyartha to lower the amount of damage he's going to do on his next turn, but honestly, I think it's better just to be aggressive here, give him another weakness to wind, so that our protagonist can follow up and hit him with another Emerald Vortex. And on our last turn now, Stroll is going to use another Vorpal Blade, and you'll see that the enemy's health is pretty low after this, so we almost defeated him on just that first turn, and he's going to freak out, and he's going to give himself a lot of turns by using Soul Scream, so he now gets 4 attacks in a row. He can use a Breath of Battle to raise his attack and defense, and then he can start to target party members with various attacks of different elements. Hulkenberg's Omni Guard actually kicked in here and bounced that damage back to him. It didn't do so much, but it was better than taking damage ourselves. Now that it's Hulkenberg's turn, we're going to have her use Meta Line to give everyone their health back after the enemy attacked us.
I owe you. I knew you'd help.
And then Juna is going to once again reapply that weakness to wind by using Dance of Verdure. Our protagonist can then use Emerald Vortex to hit that weakness and do lots of damage, but it didn't quite kill it, so we're going to have Stroll come in. We could either just use a physical attack to finish him, or to be a little bit safer, we can use Vorpal Blade to definitely guarantee that the enemy dies. After the fight, I got a Talisman of the Avian, which is good for creating summoning vessels, and some other rewards with some levels up. Then there's going to be quite a few cutscenes. I'm going to skip all of those for story spoiler reasons, and then we're going to actually be back out in the hallway where we began. Now we're going to turn left and go back through that same pathway toward the west, and because we defeated that boss, now all of those magical doors are disabled, and we can actually go through and get all the items here. So we're going to go forward and then turn toward the right to start heading north. Once we go past this bridge, now we can turn toward the right, and the door is going to be open. That allows us to go through it without teleporting to the other side and looping around. We can grab the Talisman of the Fowl on the ground for creating another summoning vessel, and then we can go north and enter the door at the top. We can open up this treasure chest to get the Blade of Totsuka. This is another good weapon that gets even better after we purify it in a church. Now let's turn around and go out into the hallway. We'll turn right, and if we look at the map, we have to go straight ahead down this hallway through 4 doors before we turn left and start heading south. So let's go ahead and do that. You might encounter an enemy along the way, like one of those molded liches, so take them out if you do encounter them. So that was 1 door, and here's number 2. We'll go through door 3 and take out the enemy, and then keep going west through this 4th door. And as we turn south, there's another Molded Lich here. I'm going to get into a fight with him and just show you a different strategy than the one I showed you before. After that ambush damage, we're going to have Juna use Vidyartha to lower his defense. Now with our protagonist, we'll use the synthesis ability Winning Horse. That hit his weakness to striking damage. We can then have Stroll use Vorpal Blade as a normal physical attack to hit him for big damage, and then we can use Hulkenberg use Mad Rush to also hit him with a physical attack. Now with Juna, we're going to pass the turn and also pass the turn with the protagonist because the enemy's stunned and can't do anything. We'll let him stay stunned for his turn, and now with Stroll, we're able to pass the turn over to Hulkenberg and use another Mad Rush to finish him off. So that's a good way to defeat these guys without actually taking any damage at all. Defeating Molded Liches gives you a lot of experience and Archetype experience, so it's definitely worth your while, and I got a lot of Archetypes up to rank 19, so we're very close to mastering some more of those Royal Archetypes. Let's continue along the path toward the south, and the best advice that I can give you at this point is stick to the left-hand side. If you just follow the left wall all the way around, you'll get everything you need to and don't have to worry about getting lost. So we'll take out that grotesque Kaimenzan, and then we're going to level up one more time with our protagonist, this time to level 68. Put another point into strength or magic, whichever you prefer, and then we're going to keep on heading toward the south, keeping the left wall right next to us. So we'll turn left, and then we'll go through the door straight ahead of us, turn left again, and take out the enemies at the end. Now turn around, and then go back the way you came, turn left, and go south down the hallway. There's going to be another big Cyclops here. We're going to take him out, as well as the two other animals nearby. Now keep heading south, and then turn toward the left. We can go through this door, and then turn, and there's going to be a Dark Elementa. We'll take him out and get lots of Archetype experience. Keep going around the pathway, keeping that wall on your left side. As we go toward the right, we'll then turn left, go through the doorway. There's going to be another winding hallway around here. Keep going along that left-hand wall. And when you turn toward the right here, there's going to be another Dark Elementa that you can take out. Now we just have to keep running north. There's going to be an enemy on our right side, so let's take him out, and then we'll get two very good items. There are very good pieces of equipment and armor here. Go ahead, grab both of those, and then keep heading north. All we have to do is to continue to keep that left wall on our side, and we can get the items in the north that we have to get. So keep going all the way north along the hallway, turn right. There's another Molded Lich here that we can take down. Thanks to the large amount of Archetype experience we get for defeating the Molded Lich, we did get Stroll, Hulkenberg, and Juna to hit that master rank with their royal archetypes. So with Stroll, we learned Noble Warrior Soul. If the wielder defeats an enemy with a physical attack, no turn icon is lost. We also get a +5 to Stroll's strength stat. Hulkenberg's Mastered Royal Knight learned the passive ability Noble Knight Soul, which adds one turn icon the turn after a proclamation skill is used, and she also gets +5 to her endurance stat. And then Juna learned the passive ability Noble Dancer Soul, which prevents turn icon loss when an enemy is defeated using fire, ice, electric, wind, light, dark, or almighty magic, and she gets a +5 to her magic stat. Now let's continue north along the hallway, and we'll defeat the large Cyclops monster in front of us. And then we're going to keep going north before we turn left and go through the doorway. That will take us around the corner where there's going to be another item in the hallway, so we're going to grab that, and then keep looping around. Once we get to the main hallway, turn left to head north, and we can defeat the enemy at the end. Now let's backtrack the way that we came, and when we turn left, we're going to go all the way toward the east as far as we can possibly go. You can go down the other pathways to the left to destroy some monsters if you want to. I'm just going to skip it though for the sake of time, and they don't give us that much experience that we really need to worry about it. So let's go all the way to the east as far as we can, and then we'll turn toward the right and just keep that left wall on your side the whole way around, and you'll be able to get out of here without even having to worry about getting lost or needing to look at your map at all. So let's turn left one more time, run forward, and then that will take us through the door back out into the staircase room. Let's just run straight ahead of us to the east and go through the door on the other side. This takes us into an interesting room where there are 5 trance crystals that continuously spawn in enemies, and we've got a total of 5 minutes to destroy all 5 of these trance crystals. So let's go forward and start taking out the enemies along the way. These guys are pretty weak. You can do that same trick that we used before where you pass through everyone's turn and get a little MP back. I'm going to use that. It does waste a little bit of time because the time will keep counting down as we go through the battle here. So once you get close to the end, you can just go ahead and use that Trial of the Seeker to knock all the enemies out in one attack. Let's get our rewards, then keep on going. We just want to go further straight up ahead in front of us, and there's also going to then be the trance crystal at the top that we want to eliminate. So we'll go up the stairs on the far east side of the room. A lot of these enemies can just be destroyed with one hit now that we're a little bit stronger and we're able to take down this trance crystal. After the crystal's destroyed, you want to grab the item on the railing nearby, and then you want to go and stay toward the north side of this room. So go over toward the right side, and you want to enter the room on the north end. Once you go inside, there's going to be an item on your left, so go grab that, and then destroy the trance crystal in this room. Once the crystal's gone, clean up all the remaining enemies here and then head back outside. You want to turn toward the right and just follow this right-hand wall all the way around. You can grab another item in the corner before going up the stairs. When you're at the top, keep going forward to grab the item, then turn around and head down the hallway in front of you, taking out the monsters and grabbing the item on the left railing. There's another trance crystal here, so destroy that one. That's 3 of 5 trance crystals destroyed. Let's head back down the stairs, and then we want to cross over to the other side of the room. There's going to be another staircase here, and right next to it is a pillar that has an item on it, so grab that item and then head up the stairs. Turn left, and there's an item right to the side, and then run toward the west side of this hallway. We can take out the enemies and the trance crystal up here. Once that's destroyed, we're going to go back down the stairs. Turn right and then hug the wall as you go along. There's one more item in the corner here, so grab that and then go through the doorway that heads toward the south. Once you go in here, there's an item on your right side, so grab that off the couch. And then we have all of the items in this whole area. So now all we have to do is to destroy this last remaining trance crystal and all the other enemies. Once that's done, you're going to get another cutscene that we're just going to skip for story reasons, and then we can go straight ahead through the door in front of us, and that's going to put us into another very easy mini-boss fight. We've seen lots of these guys before. They're in the Guptoros family, and they all have a weakness to piercing attacks and to ice. So what we're going to do first is have Juna use Dance of Verdure to give out another weakness to wind damage, and then our protagonist is of course going to use Emerald Vortex. Now over to Stroll, we're going to have him use Frigid Fortress tactic to hit his natural weakness to ice. Over to Hulkenberg, we've got a couple options. We can use Blizzaton or Mad Rush. I'm just going to go ahead and use Mad Rush in this instance. And then over to Juna, she's going to use Vidyartha to lower its defense by 2 more stages. Over to the protagonist again. He doesn't have his weakness to wind anymore, but we've got Blizza to hit his ice weakness. And now with Stroll, we can have him use Frigid Fortress tactic again. The enemy gets to attack now, so he can do a few things. He can buff himself with using Breath of Battle, and then he can use Mad Rush or another attack to hurt your team. Luckily, it doesn't do that much damage. So now that it's Hulkenberg's turn, I'm going to have her use Mad Rush to hurt the enemy again. Now to finish off the enemy, we're just going to pass the turns over to Hulkenberg so that she can use Mad Rush and finish the fight. We do this because Hulkenberg still has a lot of MP, and she's able to regenerate it pretty easily, so I want to save my MP on my other characters and just have her use it because she can regenerate it very easily. Let's get all of our rewards, and then I'm going to skip the cutscenes that follow that, and we're going to be back into the hallway with the big staircase. Before we go up there, we want to make sure that we're equipped with the best things possible. We've gotten a lot of good equipment so far, so let's make the most of it. We'll go through all of our characters and just make sure that they are assigned with the strongest things available to them.
You can trust in me. Leave it to me.
And once everyone's equipment has been properly updated, we're going to go up the stairs in front of us and through the door. Let's keep going forward and then turn left to go up the broken staircase. We can grab an item at the top, and then we can turn around and run the other direction so that we can go up the other staircase. That will take us to a hallway, and on the left side is going to be a Magla Hollow, so let's step into there really quick and save the game. Now let's make some quick alterations to our protagonist archetype and make him super powerful. We'll begin by going into the menu and then over to the item command. Let's go down to the bottom of the list and choose one of these heroes jeweled roots. We're going to choose the protagonist and then go down and find the commander archetype. We're currently at rank 1 with him. We want to get him up to at least rank 10. So go ahead and give him one jeweled root to get up to rank 9, and then a hero's leaf of light will get him to rank 11. So that's perfect. That's all that we need for right now. Now let's head over to the archetype tree, and we'll see that because we have a mastered merchant archetype on our protagonist and the rank 10 commander, we're now able to study how to become a tycoon. So let's do this. It's going to cost 24,000 mag, and the tycoon has some really powerful abilities that we're going to take advantage of. So let's go back into the items, and we're going to go down to the bottom of the list and choose the hero's jeweled root. We'll use that on the tycoon, and we want to master the tycoon archetype. So get him all the way up to rank 20. You can use a combination of those hero's jeweled roots and the hero's leaf of lights that we've been collecting throughout this dungeon. So whatever it takes, just get up to rank 20 with the tycoon to master it and learn the passive ability Almighty Boost, which increases almighty attack damage by 20%. Also, we want our Prince archetype to get all the way up to rank 20 as well, and on the way there you'll learn Resist All, which is a passive ability that resists all affinity damage other than almighty damage, and then when you get up to rank 20, you'll learn Royal Slash, which does extreme physical almighty damage to one enemy, and it's boosted against humans. We also get a big increase to both our HP and our MP. Now at this point we're going to go over to the archetype tree and we're going to select the protagonist. We want to move him from the Soul Hacker archetype and equip the Prince archetype. After that we're going to inherit 4 skills: Almighty Boost to increase our almighty damage by 20%, Lucky or Find to further increase the likelihood of receiving rare items, Critical Trade to double the chance of dealing a critical hit, and Arcane Unity to increase the strength and hit rate of synthesis abilities. Now let's go over to Juna, and we want to make one change to her inherited skills. She's going to stay as the Royal Masked Dancer. We just want to make sure that she has Masked Revelry, Vidyartha, as well as a new ability, Dekaja, which removes all buff effects on all enemies. That can be very powerful, and I'm keeping Dance of Verdure even though we're not going to use it in the next fight at all. The next big boss fight that we have to do can either go really well or really poorly. I'm just going to, for safety's sake, give myself a little bit more MP by using some fruit cordials on the protagonist. We really don't need that much though, because we can defeat the enemy in one turn if all things go well. So just for safety's sake, we'll give a little bit more MP and then we'll be good to go. As we turn left and head toward the quest marker, I do need to say that this is a big spoiler warning. You can pause the video now if you want to. As we go through the door and down the hallway, there's going to be some more scenes. So pause the video if you want to, and then resume when we get into the boss fight.
Now die.
Alright, this is Melancholia Zorba, and boy does he look different from the last time we saw him. We're going to begin the fight with Juna using Vidyartha to lower his attack and defense by 2 ranks. After that, our protagonist will use one of his archetype abilities called Hero's Cry, which is going to give us 4 additional half-turn icons, and it can only be used once per battle. Now with Stroll, we can either pass his turn or we can just hit for a little bit of damage. Because they're half-turn icons, we're not really saving anything by passing the turn. So what we're going to use is just a Frigid Fortress tactic to do a little damage and also set him up with a weakness so that the next attack from Hulkenberg, which is going to be a Blizzaton, will hit and do a little bit of extra damage. After that, it's back to Juna. She's going to use her synthesis ability, called Masquerade Charge, to greatly increase the party's physical attack 1 time in this battle. So let's go ahead and use that, and then we'll be super powered for our next attack. And now that we are super buffed and the enemy is debuffed, we're going to use the synthesis ability with the protagonist called Royal Sword to do severe physical almighty damage to the enemy. This, along with our abilities that boost almighty damage and synthesis damage, gives us 28,000 damage in one attack, and that's enough to finish off Melancholia Zorba in just that one round. Because that was an unscathed triumph, we get an absolute ton of experience, archetype experience, mag, and money, and that is enough to get our protagonist up to level 69, as well as earning us 11 more Heroes Leafs of Light for getting our archetype ranks up. When allocating the stat point, you can put it into strength or magic or agility. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to put it into agility, and then our other characters will also be leveling up.
Yeah, that feels nice.
There's going to be a series of cutscenes after that, so I'm skipping all of it for spoiler reasons, and now all we have to do is to run straight ahead and through the door at the end of the hallway. Once you go through here, more cutscenes ensue. I'm going to skip all of that, and then we're going to run straight forward up the stairs and down the hallway. You will be stopped partway through, and it's a big spoiler, so I'm not going to show what happens with that. I'm just going to kind of skip over it, and then we're going to move on into the latter part of this dungeon, which is very short. So after that little cutscene, we'll head on up here, and it looks like there's going to be a big boss fight. You can see Mora's cat and the door here. When you go to interact with the door, Hulkenberg will even tell you that we can't turn back now, and it seems really scary. Don't worry about it. There is no fight here. We'll just say, let's go. All that awaits beyond this door are a series of cutscenes, as well as our new trophy and achievement, Skybound Hope, for completing the Skybound avatar. There's going to be more cutscenes after that, and then we will finally find ourselves on the world map, where Gallica tells us where the final dungeon's location is. This is the Tyrant Star. So we will go there in a little bit, but we do have 10 more days to get ready for that final dungeon and to beat the game. And this will take us to the afternoon of October 16th, and this is where we're going to end part 14. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that like button and also comment down below. I really love to see what you guys have to say about this guide, and also any areas of improvement if you want to see any changes to how I present these guides to you. In the next part, we're going to be cleaning up all the remaining things that we have to do before the final dungeon. We'll complete all of the dragon trials, and we'll be getting some more trophies and achievements along the way. So I hope you'll join me for that. Make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss it, and I'll see you soon for part 15. Until then, thanks for watching, and have a good day.